You're working with Larry Mullins, and I want to show you my encapsulated crawl space. This is our encapsulated crawl space in our house that we're building. And we started off as a conventional crawl space, and that went south real quick. We had the standard vents that went to outside, and we just had dirt under here. But the upper part, it's hard to tell from here, but if you can see the upper part, it's kind of elevated. That's solid rock. And once we got the foundation walls up, this foundation started filling up with water. And it was coming out of we thought it was coming from rain seeping in, but we had foundation drains on the outside. It was actually coming from a seam in the rock that was on this side of the foundation. The foundation sets on a little bit of gravel too to keep it from cracking with the rock. But it wasn't coming in through there, it was coming in about in the middle. So we were afraid the whole thing was going to flood, and it did. It started holding water in this lower corner, and a lot of water. It was over a foot deep, and this lower end, probably the first third of this whole crawl space, is got concrete under it. It's kind of a rat slab. We used what leftover concrete we had, and it went up to the second set of columns. And when we brought our heat and air guy to look at it, he said, "There's no way I can do any work under there and it lasts, because we've got to get that water out of there and dry it up." And then the research began. We started doing our research. We found out there were several different kinds of crawl space encapsulation, and they all pretty much done the same thing. But before you put this high-priced plastic down, you've got to do some abatement. You have to get the water out, and that was a challenge. We had about 4.5 feet of working space under here, and it's less than that up there. It's right at 4 feet up on the upper end, and the water was coming right up on top of the ground, so there was nowhere to dig to because there was rock, a big piece of ledge that ran all the way across the upper corner, and it was just pouring in. Even when we got the roof on the house and stopped all the water from coming through the floors, water was still just pouring in. Up on this upper end, the fabric is kind of sloped away from the house because we got gravel built up on the footer to try to take up the water. And it was a big challenge to try to get all this water away. There's the air conditioner lines. And we didn't know what to do at first. We had no type of drainage going to the outside to daylight, and it was really difficult. So we got online and watched a few videos. There's a guy in Tennessee, I don't remember his name, he's got a great YouTube channel. The guy in Tennessee, I watched a bunch of his stuff, and even actually emailed him a couple of times, but I never did get a hold of him. So we decided our first mission was to get the water out, so we pumped water for a couple of days and got it all dried up. This is over trying to get the mud out. It took a few weeks to get all the mud out. As it slowly dried, we kept fans in here and slowly dried the mud up, and we started scooping it out in wheelbarrows to try to get the floor level down just a little bit. And we carted it out in wheelbarrows through this tiny little hole here with a ramp. And once we got all the mud out and got everything dry, I think we might have put some heaters under here too. It was starting to get cold outside. We ordered a bunch of small pea gravel, and we couldn't do anything where the rat slab was. We couldn't do anything with it. But above the rat slab, from this column on up, we put about 6 inches of pea gravel in just to try to cover up the mud. Didn't put any plastic or anything under it, just pea gravel. And then we dug trenches through the pea gravel 6 inches deep and put in some wrapped corrugated pipe that was perforated. It had holes in it. We were able to get the water to start following. We actually jackhammered out a low spot in the rock that was up there in the upper corner to get the pipe below where the water was coming in through the rock so it would pick up. And we put a series of pipes all around the foundation, all across, made T's all across through, and brought them to this outside wall down here by this crawl space exit. And we had to tunnel down under the foundation and go probably 3 feet down, and then we run a ditch all the way out to disappear to daylight. And we run all of these corrugated pipes into it and covered them back up. They had fabric on them, so hopefully they won't silt. There's not really any silt in here. It's just kind of fresh water. There comes the cat. And I have to warn you, anybody, about these crawl spaces. Everybody complains when they put this fabric in, and it doesn't matter what kind you put in or what brand. It has kind of a cat pee smell when you first put it in. I don't know what it is, but cats are fascinated with the way this stuff smells, and they can't stand it until they pee. This cat, I'll catch him in a minute. He'll be bowed up somewhere trying to pee. They love to pee on this fabric. And it's not just this cat, it was other cats. And when he left this door open, you'd always catch a cat under here. They love the way this crawl space fabric smells. It has kind of a cat urine ammonia smell when you first unroll it, and I haven't found any that didn't have that odor to it. So you will get that complaint at first. Now the cat pee smell kind of goes away unless the cats keep coming back. So the people that's having that prolonged smell probably has something to do with the cats keep getting back under their house. So you have to keep this completely sealed off, and you have to seal all your crawl space vents. That's another thing. Once you start encapsulating your crawl space, those vents have to be sealed. We had to condition this space, so to condition it, you can see that we've got 3 inches of foam glued to the walls, and there's also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's one. We've got, it's hard to see, there's 3-inch pins that goes through this into the concrete. All you do is drill a little 1/4-inch hole, and these pins have got little like spears on them, and those spears go into that rock and hold. So you can glue this, but you also put these pins in to hold it while it dries. I haven't finished this crawl space opening yet, but it's got to be sealed all the way around, and then I got to have foam on the door that goes here also. That's got to be sealed. And there's the cat. You should go. He's in a hurry to get out of here, so he's probably peed already. I keep this sealed, but every time the door's open, he comes running in. I don't know why. They're attracted to it. I'm going to insert some photos here in a minute. About how we actually done the gravel and the mud. I didn't do any video. There might be a couple short videos. And another thing that we done when we encapsulated this, when we put the fabric down, we wrapped the post so far up just to try to keep the water. I didn't take it all the way to the top, and there's a reason for that. Same way over here, I left one row of block exposed, which I'm going to cover with some type of insulation. I haven't done that yet. I've insulated the walls. I have to insulate this concrete, and I have to insulate these floor joist openings that goes to the outside. And I also got to seal it with caulk before I insulate them. Now, I talked to the insulation contractor about giving me an estimate on just spraying these cavities, and he was all for it, but one thing led to another, and they got all done, and we forgot all about getting under here and doing this, and we was going to include it in the price, but it didn't work out. So when it was all wet down here, this whole floor, just over a few weeks, molded. I mean, there was mold everywhere from dampness, just thick mold. And it was, you can see a little staining right there, but that's not mold, that's just where it stained the caulk or the glue. But we had to take care of that, but we couldn't take care of it until we got this encapsulation done. So we got our foam up, got it glued on the walls. We ran around and wrapped all of our posts first, and then we rolled the fabric itself out, and then we taped all of our seams with that seam tape. Now, I had my doubts about this stuff. I figured after it got damp, this stuff would come loose. Polykin, I guess is the brand of it. Polykin. But this stuff is amazing. It's watertight. It'll stick underwater. It's kind of like that tape that dude advertised on TV. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't the same thing. But you seam all your joints of your fabric, and it makes it watertight. Now, where I had the concrete at, part of this, like I said, has got concrete floor underneath it. We started walking around and running the wheelbarrows and stuff over this fabric, and it started getting holes in it where it was on that solid concrete. So I actually went in and double layered this lower section down here to just cover up all of the little holes and places that have been cut in it where we've been working on top of it. We even sealed our pedestal that we put our water heater on. And we made concrete floor drains with separate pipes in two different places. One for the furnace up there so it would have somewhere to drain, and one for the dehumidifier, which rarely ever runs. We've got a dehumidifier here, and it drains directly into the floor drain. And there is rust around it. I can see it's been running some. But the reason it hardly ever comes on is because when you encapsulate a crawl space, you have to be able to move the air in here. It actually becomes part of your conditioned space. It has to be heated and cooled just like your living space. And that's another expense that a lot of people don't factor in. And you really need to do that to keep it dry. And this place stays dry. Summertime, wintertime, it stays dry. And one of the reasons is this. We've actually got a vent system under here that takes away and adds air. And I want to close this just a little because it's kind of warm under here. Close it just a little bit. And that, one of the reasons is it's to keep the space conditioned. And it's warm. I'd say it's probably 65, 70 degrees under here, and I've got the door open. It's about 30 outside. But the furnace stays up real high and dry. We've got it all taken care of. Really great to work on our plumbing. I run out of clear cleaner, and I went up using purple cleaner for a little bit of it, and it makes a horrible mess. It gets on this stuff. It comes off if you use a clear cleaner. You can wipe it off. I was afraid to do it too much though, because I was afraid it might deteriorate the fabric, but stuff's pretty good. I think it's chemical proof. But we got everything real high. Our plumbing's all real high. Our furnace ducts are real high. Everything is up where we can get around in here. This is the system I talked about in my Propex video the other day. We put this in. We use the trunk and branch system, which is perfectly fine. But one thing we found, when you go all the way down to the other end of the house, it takes a little bit for the hot water to get to the kitchen. The kitchen's over there, and the water heater's over here. It has to travel that big, thick 3/4 inch pipe. It has to travel that pipe all the way down, and it constantly mixing with water as it goes past these other fittings. So I would like to eventually run a return with a little pump that sends it from the farthest end of the house back to this water heater. And they don't run all the time. You put eyes up in your house and they will cycle on and off. But there's still more work to do under here. I may eventually insulate this floor. There's really no reason for it, because when you insulate these cavities and you put, I'm probably going to buy some of that insulation that's wrapped and hang it along here to cover this little piece of wall. Now, you don't want to run this wall, this plastic, all the way up to the seal. The reason for that is it's for termite inspections, and they discourage it. If you put this all the way up to this seal and don't leave this open, termites can come in on the back and come up through this paper and get right into your floor, and you'll never know it. So you leave this little inspection zone, and it doesn't hurt. You can drape a piece of insulation over it. You can drape it over it and actually seal this up with foam. Now, what I thought about doing was, when I have the foam guys come in, is have them spray down and spray over top of this. I'm not sure how well it'll do. There's also a seal that's underneath here that they send you with. They send you everything with the fabric. But there's a seal. You see that black seal that's like a bitumen, I guess, two-sided tape. And you go around and you stick your paper to it, but I found my paper kept coming off, my plastic. So I went back in with these plugs. These are just about 1.5 inches long, and drilled some holes in the concrete and hammered those plugs in, and that makes it stay. It's just like a big drape hanging on the wall. You see down this wall that it kind of hangs out like a curtain. I didn't get the corner as good as I wanted, but we done, for amateurs, people that's never done it before, I think we done the best we could with it, and it's watertight. Even though we've got drains, the drains aren't really tied into the perforated system, and we've had some horrible rains in the past 6 months, and we haven't really had any evidence of moisture getting in. You know, having said that, you know, it's still, we got to watch and make sure. Our plumbing's already been inspected, and it's passed. Both the plumbings, the freshwater and the waste, and we filled the whole entire plumbing system up with water all the way out the vent of the house, and kept it full of water for a couple of days till the inspectors can come, and it didn't leak. Now, when I first put it together, it leaked. I started filling it up with water. And one thing that I use, I'm not sure if I have any under here, is there's some, it's called One Step PVC glue. It's for drain and waste. And it's supposed to clean and glue all at the same time. We've got the medium and the heavy duty. I tried both, and they just do not glue this pipe. I don't know why. It's the same people that make all the other PVC adhesives, but that One Step just doesn't work, and that's why you see in spots it's purple and in spots it's not, because we went back in with the 2-part and used a cleaner and glued everything back up. Of course, I had to cut it all out and redo it, because you can't just re-glue a joint. So there's a lot of cuts, and see a lot of couplers where I've had to go in and take every bit of that One Step out. And we went from 3 inch to 4 inch. The 4 inch goes to the outside. And we got a nice clean out over here on the wall. And where it goes to the outside, it's sealed up tight where it goes out the wall, so critters can't get in. I haven't sealed the water line because I was having problems with my water leaking. This is just a test rig that I've got. It shows me my water pressure. This is a drain because I need to drain this fresh water down, which is handy. It goes over to the drain. I don't have to flood the whole crawl space. Pressure regulator. We're running somewhere around 55, 60 pounds. And you got to cut off to the drain. You got to cut off to the water coming in. This is a T that goes off to the outside spigot, and that really needs to be wrapped, but it is tilted down so it can drain out. It's a frost free. Here's, you can see how it was done on the foundation. See how the water comes in through a sealed pipe. Everything's foamed down to the foundation. We set each piece in foam, and then you come back over it and wrap it with your fabric. This fabric's black on the back side. It's got string in it. It's really, you can't tear it. The corners are a little tricky. I guess it takes a professional touch or a quilter to do these corners. We just kind of folded them up, taped over them, but there's just little pieces of tape there because it's a solid piece. We just folded the corners over. I can't wrap presents either, so that'll tell you something. But this, another thing this is, and you'll see this a lot, especially in my area, a little lizard. This stuff is a lizard trap. Lizards can't climb it. They can't get back out once they get in. They come in here chasing bugs, which is great. It's awesome to have lizards come in and get rid of your insects. But at the same time, they can't never get back out again. That stain on the floor. It's nasty, whatever that is. Probably cat pee, if I had my guess. I don't smell any. This is where we plumbed in our water heater. It's kind of hard to see. We got a little expansion tank. It's really not big enough. Oh, I had to order it at Lowe's when it came in. This little tiny little thing was here. And I left enough room where I could put a bigger one. Got an outlet over here. Got a copper drop down where you could suspend the tank really solid when I put a bigger one on it. And got shut-offs over there where I can cut the hot and cold off past this system. There's also a loop that goes up into the bedroom for the fresh water, and it's a cutoff. It shuts everything off. We've got cutoffs on our water heater here where we can uncouple it. Now I did, like I said in the other video about the PEX, when I brought this copper pipe to the water heater, I should have used flex pipe, but I wound up having some of this 3/4 copper and I used it. And I made it rigid to the tank. It's not a bit hot, a little hot. But I was afraid to put that PEX right up against the tank. I was afraid it would blow off. So I used copper. I brought it up here and transitioned it to PEX. It's kind of hard to see. There's the cat. Cat skin. As what's his name says on his car videos, he got a one-eyed cat. Jonathan W. on YouTube. Let's see, more transition there. There's where the plumbing comes down. We got our main vent stack, goes up right there, goes out the roof. And then we got our secondary plumbing that goes to the other end of the house, which also has a vent. And then I got a main line going over that picks up the utility room sink and washing machine and all that. It all comes in right there. Well, I guess it's the washing machine over there. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to put foam around these outside edges. And I ordered this fancy kit off of Amazon. It was like 80 bucks. And from the picture, the thing said it done 12 square feet, which is that's a lot of foam. 12 square feet is. And apparently it only does 12 square feet. Yeah, right here it says covers 12 square feet. But then it's got some fine print. Was that 1 inch thickness? So it does cover 12 square feet. But it's the tiniest little pack. They're tiny little cans. They're just regular size foam cans. One's a foam and one's a hardener, I guess. It's activator. But I haven't tried it yet. It's been sitting here for a while. We may give it a try, make a video about that. But I was hoping, it says it covers large areas the way the nozzle's made. We'll see. We'll make it an inch and a half thick and see what. Figured I'd give you guys a view of this crawl space. I just want to take you along and show you what we had to go through to make this house. This added thousands of dollars to our initial expense of building the house, but the payoff is worth it. I've got a dehumidifier that hardly ever comes on. It came on when I first come in, but it probably came on just because I opened the door up. And you can come in here and spray. Another thing I didn't mention, when I was talking about the mold earlier, we ordered some kits that we saw Matt Reisinger use, and we used both. We used a insecticide that we put in here. I guess it was like a borate salt, which is not only insecticide, it kind of kills mold and fungus too. We used borate salt on everything under here. We sprayed all of the seals, all of the floor joists, everything. Everything in here is just completely soaked with borate. And we also got a fungicide, mildewcide, which is kind of expensive. I think the borate solution was about $125, and it's about a 2-gallon bucket. And it done all this, plus I done all around the seals upstairs, all around the wall plates, up about 3 feet upstairs, because that's where your critters tend to run, towards the lower part of the wall. And I done, I think, part of the rafters too, around where the eaves are. And I was able to get all that done with that one 2.5-gallon jug. I can't remember the name of it exactly, but it was, if you look at some of Matt Reisinger's videos, he talks about how to treat a house. I also used a mildewcide and fungicide that he recommended, and I mixed it in with the borate solution and sprayed it all at once. And you need to wear a mask if you're going to go in here and do any kind of spraying of insecticides or mildewcides. You want to make sure you use a mask, a respirator type mask, and cover your eyes, because it is salt, and it'll just about burn your eyes out if you get it in it. And that was the way we tried to seal all this. That's why you don't see any mold now. 24 hours after we sprayed all of that stuff under here, it was just gone. It was gone. Everywhere we sprayed, it just vanished. We sprayed the whole floor. And it was pretty bad over here where this doorway was, especially. The humidity of the summer was coming in and hitting up in there, and it was just terrible. So we really sprayed it down good over here, and the mildewcide and fungicide got rid of all of it. You do find insects every now and then just abandoned in here, where they just crawled in here and they really can't get up the walls, which is great. And one thing that can happen is where we've got the pipe system goes off to daylight out there, you need to put some type of screen or grill over top of it to keep rats. Rats will get underneath this floor, and they'll come in through those pipes if you're not careful. So you need to make sure you seal it up out there where critters can't crawl in. I recommend that to anybody that's got foundation drains that goes to daylight. You want to make sure you just seal it up, and that keeps invasive animals from getting into your house, your structure. And if they do get in here, you can set up traps, and you can find them really easy. It'll be easy to catch them in here, but you don't want them to get behind your fabric. If they get behind your fabric, they'll chew that foam up and make an awful mess and run along that foundation. So you got to be really aware of that. Get under here and look and listen. It doesn't hurt to revisit your crawl space if you've got it encapsulated pretty regular. And when the heat and air guy come back, he was more than happy to put the heat and air in, because he had one of the best work surfaces you can work on. It's soft where it's on that pea gravel down there. Easy to work on. You can get all your parts in here, and you got plenty of room to work. I don't think anybody should ever put in less than a 5-foot crawl space, or 4 foot at least, because you just need the room. This is good and handy. Everything under here is handy. The plumbing was easy. When I brought the inspectors in, they were tickled to death. Most of them won't get out of the house. They just want to look. They come in and they checked out everything. They gave it a good thorough inspection to make sure that I did everything right, and I'm happy that they did that. I failed a couple of things the first time. which is expected if you're doing it yourself as a homeowner. But they were simple fixes. One of them was the vent needed to go through the roof and have a solid stack. I didn't do that. I had a vent, but it traveled up through a wall in a different place. So I was able to get that 3-inch vent all the way to the roof done. And they come back and signed off on everything. Now I got to have one more inspection for occupancy. Once that is done, this crawl space will be signed off. But I just wanted to help anybody out that was interested in doing one of these crawl spaces. You can do it yourself. The products are out there. They're available. The people that I talked to, I cannot remember the name of the company. I wish I did. I think it was Crawl Space Solutions, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And the lady that I talked to was more than helpful. She made sure that I had everything that I needed that arrived. The pins came, the butyl tape for sticking came, this rolls of adhesive tape that you seal it down with, it all came. I had more than enough. The only thing she didn't provide, which she wasn't supposed to, was the longer pins that I had to have to put my foam up on the wall. So I had to buy them myself. They're kind of pricey. They only sold them in a box of like 500, and I only needed, 60? So I probably got 440 more of those pins around here somewhere. But if anybody is interested in more about this, you can leave a comment and I'll try to dig up the information. I'm pretty sure it was Crawl Space Solutions, and there are people that'll do it for you. I recommend anybody, especially no matter where you have a crawl space at. If it's in the south, that you even need it even more because you got so much humidity in the south. Having those vents open, which is traditional around here, everybody does open crawl spaces with open vents and expects that cross flow to keep the house dry, and it just doesn't do it. You've always got dampness. You always have rot. It's just no good. So anybody, no matter south, north or south, you're going to do a crawl space, you should encapsulate it. It's just worth it. On the initial bill price, it may add a couple $1,000, but I think it's worth it. I've heard that the professionals that come in and do it, they usually put the big hanging dehumidifier that goes into the system, or they don't condition this space at all. They just use a dehumidifier under here and run it. It runs all the time, and that's going to make your price go up a little bit. Now in the wintertime, it may make my heat bill go up a little bit, but I'm keeping these vents kind of closed off and just keeping it slightly conditioned under here. If it does get too humid, which it won't in the winter, if it does get too humid, that little dehumidifier will come on, and since it's plumbed right straight into the drain, it's not going to fill up and shut off. So I'm confident. I've been running that thing for more than a year. I just keep an eye on it, make sure it runs. But that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you coming along. If you have any questions, comments, anything more you want to know about this, I'll get into it in more detail. And just leave a message in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay clean.